Hey folks, my name's Nate Salzman. I'm with Jefferson Patterson Park. Welcome to Lunchtime Learning. And also, Happy New Year's. I don't know about you, but I have New Year's resolutions. Two of my New Year's resolutions are to see my friends more and to be outside more. So I've decided to actually do a video combining both those things. The weather's starting to get cooler and people are starting to get around fires to stay warm. It's a great way to see folks and stay in an outside environment where it's safe. And so what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be doing some cooking outside. And I'm going to basically give you 4 recipes, and these recipes are easy peasy. They're going to be recipes that even the most picky little child will enjoy, and they're super simple. They don't involve a lot of materials, and you can do them right over an open fire with very little prep. All right, let's get started. Okay, so the first recipe we're going to be doing today is hobo bags. They're also sometimes called foil bags. They're the easiest thing on earth. All we're going to do is we're going to take some ingredients like some bacon that I've already cut up. We're going to cut up some potatoes. We're going to take 1 onion, a pepper, and I'll show you how we assemble it. All right, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our potatoes and we're just going to cut them up. I like to cut my potatoes really thin. The thinner you cut them, the more evenly they'll cook. There's nothing worse than getting a raw potato, so the easiest way to avoid that is to make nice thin slices. All right, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up an onion. I'm probably only going to use maybe half or a quarter of this onion. It really is a question of personal taste. All right, we got our onion cut up. Next, we're going to cut up our pepper. As you can see, with all the stuff that's not the potato, I'm just sort of rough chopping it. I'm not really getting too specific. This is one of those recipes where you can't go wrong. I mean, you're going to put enough bacon in this thing that it's going to be tasty. Some folks will also add salt, pepper, Old Bay. I think in every cooking episode I've done so far, I've included Old Bay at least once. So Old Bay, if you're listening, please give us money. All right, there we go. Now for the fun part, assembly. So I've got my aluminum foil, and before I put in any of my veggies, I'm going to throw in some bacon. The bacon is going to actually act as my grease. So instead of adding cooking oil, the bacon is, as it cooks, it's going to produce the oil. I like to add the bacon first. This way it's hitting that aluminum foil. When I make this package, I'm going to try and make it really nice and tight. And that's going to help to hold in the steam. So basically the vegetables are getting steamed at first, and then as that steam escapes, they're getting fried in bacon fat. All right, that looks pretty good. You know, 2 more pieces won't hurt. I'm young. Next, I'm going to add my potatoes. Now, the one thing you want to do when you add your potatoes is you don't want to throw it in as one giant lump, because even though you cut it up, it's not going to cook evenly if you don't separate out your nice thin slices. So I like to do a layer of potatoes. And you'll notice I'm not going all the way to the edges. A lot of people try to overstack these, and that's when they run into problems. I'm going to throw in some of my peppers. Throw in some more potato. Going to add some of that nice onion in there. I'm going to basically just break up the onion a little bit. A little more potato. Now the last step is I'm going to add a little more bacon. I want to make sure that I have bacon on both sides of this. One issue that people do sometimes run into with this is that the bacon, it cooks, but it doesn't really cook the way that you want it to. Too much steam will get in there, and so your bacon isn't as crispy as most people would like it. One way that you can avoid that is you can just sort of par cook it a little bit beforehand. So here's our secret where we actually put it together. I'm going to take my 2 ends, have them meet in the center, press down, so I've got all this material here, and I'm just going to gently fold it over on itself as many times as I can. And I really want to make sure to get a nice bit of material there. I'm going to do the same thing on the end, so I'm just going to fold it over on itself. And this aluminum foil feels a little thin, so I'm just going to wrap it a second time. So I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I'm going to flip it around. This way it helps it to cook evenly. So seam side down. Both sides meet in the center. You can see it literally looks like a T from the side view. And I'm just going to fold it down This is probably like the best wrapping I do. If anybody ever gets Christmas gifts from me, I apologize. You're gonna think that I can do a better job than I normally do. But this is actually important, unlike gift wrapping. All right, there we go. And now, this is the complicated part, very technical. Throw it in the fire, done. All right, so right now my potatoes are cooking away and I can actually hear them just sizzling and frying away. I'm gonna flip this. I hate dirty dishes. I loathe them. The fact that I dirtied up 3 things already drives me up a wall. So rather than dirty up a pair of tongs, I actually just made my own. I just took a sapling, split it, shoved a little twig in there, and now ready to go. All right, so we've been cooking this now for, I don't know, I'm getting hungry, maybe about 10 minutes. It's really a question of just how warm everything is and how hungry you are. If you make a mistake and you don't cook it long enough, you just throw it back in. You're cooking over a fire, you're not cooking over a normal stove. So let's take this thing out. And this is the part that you gotta watch out for, because when you open this up, it's gonna be toasty. So you probably don't want to do this with your bare hands like I am. Woo! Hot, hot, hot. It's almost like it's been cooking. Oh God, it smells so good. Oh. Oh, look at that. Oh. Let's test it out. Oh man, those potatoes are cooked through. They're just falling apart there. If I can get one on here. Cut the camera, I'm eating. All right, so the next one we're gonna do is just a camping classic. We're gonna do a spin on hot dogs. I know that when I go to a party, one of my favorite things is the hors d'oeuvres. So instead of doing pigs in a blanket, we're gonna do hogs in a sleeping bag. So I'm just gonna simply cook up a hot dog like I normally would, and then afterwards I'm gonna finish it off by wrapping it in a crescent roll. I wanted to cook it first, this way it gets that nice texture on the outside, and also so this way it doesn't act like a heat sink. This way when I focus on cooking the exterior, the puffy crescent roll, all I have to do is worry about that. Two things I want to mention. Number one, you want to make sure that when you put it on there, you really sort of bind it to itself a little bit, so you want to squish it on there, otherwise it can slip off. And number two, you're going to notice that I'm not putting this down really into the heat. I want to sort of basically make this almost like an oven. I want a slow, low heat. This looks so good. I mean, this is my first time doing it. I just took a leap there. It is so good. You can already see, I'm going to throw some ketchup on there. This crust is cooked all the way through. And you can see we're nibbling it a little bit. Oh man. Why have hors d'oeuvres when you could just make it the main course? This is something that I guarantee you any kid will scarf down, even the most picky eater. And it's a fun way to sort of zhuzh it up a little bit. You know, if I was an adult and somebody served me this, I'd be pretty happy. If somebody served me, gave me some hot dogs and said, go make it, you know, this is a great way to look like a good host and do no work. I don't care if it's too hot, I'm trying it. Oh my God. It's everything I wanted and more. All right, folks, so for our third recipe, this is gonna be our most complex one, but it is also one of my favorites. This is something that when I make it for my partner or for anybody, they rave about it. It's just a grilled cheese sandwich. We're gonna be making a grilled cheese sandwich, but we're gonna be doing it over the fire. So for this one, I'm gonna actually show you some tricks to help you make the perfect grilled cheese sandwich. And a lot of these skills you can actually use for cooking other things. So you're gonna need a couple tools. Number one, you're gonna need a pan. I'm gonna be using my favorite cast iron pan right here. Whatever pan you use, you probably want an old pan that you dedicate to this because it tends to get covered in soot and turn this black color, and the soot's very difficult to get rid of. The next thing you're gonna need is a trivet. Now I know what you're thinking, I don't have a trivet at home. I don't have anything this nice or fancy. This one actually isn't that fancy, it's just a bunch of rebar welded together. That's all right. If If you don't have a trivet, hopefully you've got firewood. We're actually just take these two pieces of wood and sit them side by side, and literally our pan sits on top. This way our pan isn't smothering our coals. I could try and put this over the fire, but there's going to be some issues. Number one, I'm going to have uneven heating. Number two, I'm going to probably burn my hands every time I try to go in there. And number three, I'm going to get covered in smoke just like I am right now. So instead, I'm going to actually move some of my coals to the edge, set up my trivet, and cook over that. But first, let's get ourselves set up. So we're going to do mozzarella, tomato, basil, and then of course you need butter because you can't make a grilled cheese sandwich without butter. All right, let's get started. There we go. Now if that doesn't look like it should be on the cover of Bon Appetit, I don't know what does. And now for the secret. Butter. And then we're going to do a big old pad for the pan. All right, let's get our fire started and get everything situated. I'm just going to grab a couple coals. Again, using my handy dandy tongs. If I didn't have these tongs, I would just grab two pieces of wood and try and finagle it. There's really not an exact science to how much coals you need. It's really just a question of what you're cooking. I like my grilled cheeses to really get nice and brown, so I'm going to add quite a bit of coal there. And that's a real good amount of heat. So instead of that trivet, that fancy tool, I'm just going to take my other piece of wood, set it on the other side. And since I'm not going to be cooking for hours and hours and hours, I can just use these pieces of wood. When they start to burn up, replace them. Not the end of the world. Look at that. Pan sits perfectly. The idea is that you want some gap in between those coals and your pan. This way airflow can happen. Otherwise, what will happen is you'll just smother your coals and you'll actually get cold spots. We're definitely up to heat. I can feel it. I can see the butter starting to brown a little bit. Because my cast iron isn't completely flat, there's a little bit of a tilt. So all my extra butter is on the edge, and that's all right. If I need a little extra butter, I'll just scoot it down that way. Oh, listen to that sound. That's the sound of deliciousness coming. That sounds good. I can hear the crispiness already. Oh, look at that. Oh. If that doesn't make you a happy camper, I don't know what will. I'm just going to scoot it more into the middle. All right. I'm getting hungry, so I'm calling it done. If you like your cheese to be extra melty, one thing you can do is just throw a piece of aluminum foil over this, and that'll help hold in the heat, which will then help to heat up the center. I sort of don't mind if my cheese is not the most melty on earth, but I gotta tell you, that looks pretty good. I can see right here on the edge that cheese is starting to soften up. Let's see how the other side looks. Oh, look at that. That is a thing of beauty. Now here's the real secret. You don't cut it straight across, you cut it at a bias. Makes it fancier looking. All right, folks, and so for our fourth thing that we're cooking, real simple, can of soup. And I'm gonna show you some tricks that are gonna actually help you to cook that soup, make your life really easy. The first trick is whenever I get soup, I go for the soup with the pop top. And I'm gonna actually use that pop top to help me put the soup on and off the fire. So I'm simply just gonna pop it and leave it so that it sits facing up. Then I can sit it right into my bed of coals. While I'm waiting for that to cook, obviously it's gonna get hot. I don't wanna go grabbing that top, so I'm gonna make a tool. I'm just gonna grab a tree limb that's got a little fork on there, and the first thing I'm gonna do is take my handy dandy knife and I trim off the very end. There we go. Then I'm gonna take my slightly thinner limb, I'm gonna trim that down so that it looks almost like a fish hook. There we go. And now, when I'm ready to take my soup out, or if I want to turn its direction, look at that. No burning yourself, no issues with trying to get your hands too close to the fire. Cakewalk. The other thing I'm going to do is, I love soup with breadsticks. I'm going to grab some of that French croissant roll. I'm just going to wrap it around the end here, and I'm just going to make I'm just going to cook it over the fire the same way I cooked it before and make myself a breadstick. Again, making sure to clamp it together. Soup and breadsticks. It's like the Olive Garden, but better, much better. All right, folks, there you have it. If you add s'mores to this, you got a 5-course meal and only like 4 dirty dishes. It really doesn't get better than that. And everything that you saw didn't require any special equipment, didn't require any special skills. I think the most complicated thing I did was put 2 logs next to some coals to cook on. You can do a lot of really amazing things with very limited stuff. And so that's sort of my challenge for you folks out there is go out the next time you're gonna go hang out with your friends near a fire somewhere that's open where you feel safe. Bring some cans of soup with you. Bring some dough with you to make some breadsticks. You know, there's no reason why you can't class up your meals a little bit and move past hot dogs, or at least make your hot dogs classy. Anyway, on behalf of Jefferson Patterson Park, I'd just like to say thank you so much and stay safe, but also stay active. Thanks.